Welcome back, everybody, to the Big Four podcast. We're back for another great week of college football.
You seem excited.
I am excited. I look forward to this every week. Every week. Speaking of looking forward, Michigan State's going to have to look forward after that performance last Saturday. What was it, 38-7, 34-7? Something like that. Reactions from this game, if you want to call it a game.
Yeah, well, I think Minnesota is a challenger to win the West, given that's not hard to do in the West right now because I think Minnesota's not that good, and Iowa obviously can't move the ball on offense. But Minnesota's a really good team. They could potentially, their schedule the way it is, they could end up going 10-2, 11-1, and they could easily be in a New Year's Six bowl by the end of the year, or at least be in one of the top, maybe if not New Year's Six, one of the bigger non-New Year's Six bowls. But for Michigan State, like we said going into the year for Michigan State, this was a year where you have to consolidate your games, win the 7-8 games, have a solid year, and it has started disastrously. And it's because they've looked horrible in these two games that they've lost. They looked bad against Washington. They've looked bad against Minnesota. They haven't even looked competitive. So that's the bigger concern. Now, if they had two competitive games with Washington and Minnesota, I think we'd be looking at it and be like, oh, maybe you got a little unlucky here. You were competing with them and it just didn't go your way that time. But you have the potentials there, and they've just been absolutely dominated both games.
Yeah, Minnesota's a good team. They'll probably win the West. Good offensive line. They can run it on pretty much anybody. Morgan just can't turn the ball over, and they'll probably win the West. But frankly, I want to talk a little bit more about Michigan State here. This is real. It's a disaster. First of all, they're hurt everywhere as usual because their training staff sucks. It has always. No, it is not the grass, because we saw that thing that Nick sent last night.
Well, actually, Chris, they hired the Red Sox training staff.
Yeah. So the training staff sucks.
Pitching development staff.
That's a problem. Mel Tucker doesn't use the transfer portal enough. He has been a disgrace on the recruiting trail. He got lucky last year to win 10 games, and they're even worse this year. He's the cornerbacks coach.
Be careful if you keep killing Mel Tucker, I'll have to bring out the race card. You don't want that.
And he is the cornerbacks coach, and they have one of the worst sets of defensive backs in college football.
Yeah, what's going on with that 5-star, Mike, that you guys got the transfer from Georgia?
He's been fine. It's the nickel and the safeties that just get killed. They target the same two positions every week. Amir Speed's been fine. Brantley's actually been good. One of our corners has been pretty good. They don't even look his way. But it's the safeties and the nickel, which is an embarrassment.
Anyway, Michigan State, as Luke said, dominated the last 2 weeks. It's an unacceptable product. I don't care this garbage that Mike is going to say. It's unacceptable. Mel Tucker needs to be on the hot seat. This is after going 10-2 last year. Even if they were lucky to win 10 games, you still have to be competitive in these games, especially at home against Minnesota. You have to be competitive. And I would like to just take this one moment to predict. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to predict something. I'm going to predict what you're about to say.
Okay.
You are going to say nothing bad about the coaching staff for Michigan State. You're going to give all the credit to Minnesota and talk about how they're a generational team. Go ahead.
I will say, Mike, I will say the next 4 weeks is your season. If you can go, if you can go 2-2 in the next 2 weeks and be 4-4 going into Illinois.
2-2 in the next 2 weeks.
2-2 in the next 4 weeks. 2-2 in the next 4
weeks.
You
mean 2-0 in the next 2 weeks? If we go 2-0 in the next 2 weeks, that would
no. If you go If you can go 2-2 in the next 4 weeks, and then you have Illinois, Rutgers, Indiana, and Penn State to end the year, that you can get to 7-8 wins.
Yeah, well, here on the Big Four podcast, we talk about the winning team first, and Chris is right. Minnesota's a generational football team.
Yeah, there it is.
But actually, before I get to that, Chris, I have a question for you. Does
Go ahead.
last year's MSU team beat Minnesota, and does last year's MSU team beat Washington?
I think last
I
year's
think they
team
beat.
beats Washington.
I think they beat Minnesota.
No, they would lose to Minnesota.
I think
they
they
Yeah.
beat
beat
Washington.
Washington just because it's on the road at night. But they beat Minnesota at home.
Might beat Washington, but
They
it
did.
would.
At the very least, Mike, they'd be competitive in both these games.
But if we lost to Purdue last year, we weren't going to beat Washington.
They
this
would have
year.
been competitive, and they wouldn't have gotten blasted in both of the games.
Okay, fine. I'm not saying this year's team is equal to last year's team. It's worse. There's no doubt about it. But we talk about the winning teams first here on the Big Four podcast. And I'm not even talking about ratings wise. I mean, Chris has Minnesota in the top 10. I don't.
Because I
think
rank
they're
based off
probably-
resume. I don't rank based off power rating. I
Well,
rank
if
based off
MSU is a
resume.
terrible team, how is Minnesota in the top 10?
Well,
If you base off resume, Kansas should be in the top 5.
no, they shouldn't. They haven't played
Yes,
anybody.
yes, they should. Bull crap. They haven't played anybody.
Minnesota has beaten 2 power conference teams by a sizable margin.
Kansas has beat 3 Power 5 teams by sizable
Not
margin.
by a sizable enough margin.
Yes, a sizable margin.
All right, let me adjust that. I rank based on resume and how I think the team is. There's a little bit of both there. I think Minnesota is a top 25 team, and their resume is top 10 right now.
You can't. Jesus Christ, that doesn't even make sense. What?
Yeah, they're a top
If
25
their
team.
resume was a top 10 team, and you thought they were a top 25 team, they'd be around 15 or 16. But you have them in the
No,
top 10.
well, I weigh it heavily for different
Then
teams
why isn't Kansas in the top 10?
because I don't like Kansas.
Whatever.
And they have not played anybody. Kansas has not played anybody. Everybody wants to rank Kansas. They've played nobody. The best team they played is Duke.
I have Minnesota number 17 in the country, power ratings wise. But if you look at their schedule, I think they could easily go 11-1. And then Penn State, that game always tough on the road, whiteout. But I mean, they have the tools to keep that thing close. I'm not saying they can win, but they can keep that game close. You never know. They could win that, go 12-0. All I'm saying is Minnesota. There's probably a 70 to 80% chance they go 10-2 or better, and probably a 50% chance, probably 60% chance they go 11-1 and better. So this is a really good Minnesota team, and the division they play in is a joke, which helps. And they play Purdue this week. They're a double-digit favorite at home. That might be their toughest game in the West. The West is just a mess right now. So stylistic wise, it's probably their toughest game because they can out physical any other team in the West. And I thought Morgan played well. Obviously, Michigan State basically giving away what they were doing on defense didn't help. But he did a nice job. Ottman Bell's out for the season, but they didn't feel that loss really at all. They threw the ball whenever they wanted. Running attack, I was impressed with. All right, now to Michigan State. I said last week, I said they were going to lose, and I said they were going to lose by double digits. Did I think it was going to be this bad? No. But I knew Minnesota was a better team, more veteran team, a better coach team. There's no doubt about that. The weaknesses that we have on the defensive line right now due to injuries, you're not going to beat Minnesota playing a defensive end, a defensive tackle, and our defensive ends can't withstand a double team. They just get blown off the line of scrimmage. Every time Minnesota runs that inside zone or that outside zone, they just get absolutely destroyed. Ibrahim's getting 6 yards of carry. He finished with 5 yards of carry, but whatever. Their other running backs got up there as well. And then couldn't stop the pass. Couldn't really get a pass rush. There were times we got close, but couldn't get to the quarterback at all. And that was only the defense. In terms of the offense, was not a great game, obviously. I think there's some same page issues on the offense as well as the defense. There are a lot of times where it looked like the wide receivers were running the wrong routes, and maybe that comes down to just these guys need to put more work, or maybe it's just a transfer thing, because I feel like that's been an issue, especially on defense.
I feel like your coaches suck.
Maybe. But the offensive line, I thought the offensive line was okay, but Minnesota's defensive line is really good. They're experienced. They got a bunch of 6th-year seniors there. Their middle linebacker is pretty good too. But you weren't going to run the ball when you get down 14-0 instantly. You're going to have to pass the ball, and Minnesota plays good pass defense also. So I mean, it was one of those things where, you know, Michigan State had weaknesses in the wrong places against this team. And maybe that's the case for every team that Michigan State plays on the schedule, it seems like. But, you know, obviously, the thing about it is, you know, Michigan State, we've got, you know, you saw the stat, 55 players transferred out. Only 5 of them went to power programs. Mel Tucker inherited a mess. There's no doubt about it. It's going to take time. However, it can't look like this. And Luke's right. It can't look this bad. I think going into the season, this was a 7-win team, when healthy, got injured. Now it's a 5-win team with a ceiling of 6 wins. But it just, you can't have those issues. And for me, it's 1 or 2 positions on the defense, especially in the secondary. They're just getting abused. The nickel, I mean, we had Gross in there to start the year. Not Gross. We had Kimbrough in there to start the year. He was benched for a Division II transfer who's been okay, but he can't cover very well either. And then safety, you had Gross, who is grossly incompetent out there at free safety. And he was just getting targeted. I think the first drive, Minnesota just went after him like 4 or 5 times, and he couldn't cover anybody. And that just can't happen. And then, you know, offensively, I don't think this team is not mature enough offensively to compete with this Minnesota team, especially in the trenches. Minnesota is just, they're experienced up there. Michigan State, it takes 3 to 4 years to develop an offensive line, especially when Mel Tucker inherited possibly the worst offensive line room in college football when he got there. It's going to take time. I think they're an average offensive line in the Big Ten, but average offensive lines are not going to play well against Minnesota. Minnesota's experienced up front. So I think this week will be telling. If Michigan State can't run the ball this week, then it's going to be really bad. This could spiral to 2-10, 3-9 if Michigan State can't move the ball in Maryland this week, which I don't think Maryland's defense is good at all. So, overall bad game. The coaches, they're going to have to figure something out because the product can't look like this. It just can't look like this. The fans are patient. The fans will be patient, but you have to give them something to be at least something for them to watch. And I'll just say right now, if we make a bowl, that would be a miracle, and Mel Tucker would deserve doubling his salary if we make a bowl game this year. There's no
Jesus. Your
We're a bad
expectations
football
have dropped.
Yeah, seriously. This isn't like some bottom tier.
not expectations. It's the recalibration of expectations with all the injuries. And
Why are people hurt? Why are people injured? Because your training staff sucks.
no, it's because of the grass, and
It
that's
is
the
not
next thing
because
I
of
was
the
going
grass.
to. We
It is
need to
not
install
because of the
turf.
grass.
Before the Ohio State game, I expect turf to be on Spartan Stadium. I expect the
So
neon turf.
that's definitely going to help you with the speed advantage Ohio State has, is going from grass to turf.
Don't
Yeah.
care. I would rather Ohio State have a little bit of an advantage than all our guys getting injured.
That's not. Did you see the article the Knicks sent last night?
Don't care. That was catastrophic non-contact.
Oh,
I don't care about that.
you just go by the eye test.
Look at Michigan. Yeah, I go by the eye test. Exactly.
Oh,
Michigan
okay,
never
yeah.
is in, I don't think I've ever seen Michigan have injuries besides Ronnie Bell, and that was your
Because our
one
training staff is good.
catastrophic injury.
That's because our training staff's
Well,
good.
Ronnie Bell's injury was on the road at Penn State, Mike, wasn't it?
No, it
No,
was
it was
against
the
Western
first game of the
Michigan at
year.
home.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. If Penn State gets
Ronnie
injured a
Bell
lot
against
too,
Penn
and they
State's
play
when he
in
dropped the
Nebraska.
ball in the end zone.
Yeah, that was bad.
My bad.
Forgot about that. But yeah, people calling for Peyton Thorne's job. Obviously, it's too early. He's another guy who's injured. He couldn't practice all of last week.
You could
You
use
got-
Mike. You could use a conference champion winning quarterback on your roster, Rocky Lombardi.
Yeah, I know. He actually played really well last week. They almost beat Kentucky, but they were close. They covered.
Yeah, they only lost by 8.
Yep, exactly. But where this program is at a point where there's not enough depth built up yet through recruiting for injuries to happen. And then when injuries happen at the wrong places, the team is just gonna fall off big time. I think at its height, if everybody stayed healthy, relatively healthy, it's a 7-win team. And they got injured, and now it's a 5-win team. That's just how it works. It just is what it is. You can complain about it all you want, but it is what it is. The depth is not there. And there's not that one player that can, like Kenneth Walker, that can carry your team when other players aren't playing well, or when you have injuries at certain places. All right, that's enough. We're moving on to Michigan. It was a game that was a little dicey at times, it felt like, but Michigan was able to pull away at the end and win. So reaction from this game?
Yeah, this is what I've been saying the first 3 weeks is everyone was all high on Michigan because they've looked good. I said, let's wait until they play an actual team. And they play Maryland and they struggle. Maybe it's because they haven't played anybody yet. So it's their first test. We'll see again this week when they play Iowa and they're at Iowa. We'll see how their offense is, because I think that's really the big question is how JJ McCarthy and this offense, how are they going to deal with any kind of pressure anytime they're in a close ball game and you need a drive? Can they do it? And they have to go on the road against Iowa, and then the week after they're going to Indiana, which should be a win, but road games in the Big Ten are never a sure thing, especially once you start getting into October.
That's a home game, not a road game.
It says you're at Indiana.
Yeah, well, there's not going to be any Indiana fans there.
Yeah, you're still going on the road. You still have to make the trip.
Is that grass
they-
or turf, Indiana?
Turf.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the
Good
defense
win.
here.
Oh, they
Oh, go ahead.
stayed undefeated.
I'll start
So
with
you're
the
saying
defense.
overall you stayed undefeated, and that's all you need to do.
If you told me coming into the season, essentially the defense gave up 19 points in this game. I'm not counting the garbage time touchdown with the backup quarterback. If you had told me they were going to give up 19 points coming into the game at the beginning of the season, I would have taken that. So I'm not going to sit here and criticize the defense.
I thought
too
you were going
much.
to say, I thought you were going to say, oh, JJ was, because I knew JJ was going to throw 5 picks. That wasn't going to be good enough. Defense is going to have to give up 10 points for us to win.
This offense was a disgrace for a couple of reasons. Number one,
Yeah, 300 yards rushing for one player. That was
Number one, the play calling was atrocious. Michigan was running the ball all over Maryland all game, and then we decided that we wanted to start running some nice gadget plays, double passes, tosses, flea flickers, all sorts of garbage, where we could just run it right down their throat and won this game by like 3 touchdowns. Also, the quarterback in this game was dreadful. McCarthy was I don't think he could have played worse in this game.
He had a 72 QBR.
He had a fumble, shocker. He loves putting the ball on the ground. And I think he overthrew wide open streaking receivers at least 4 to 5 times. Guys just running wide open and he overthrew them.
Yeah, listen, you overthrow him on purpose so that you can set up the run. And that milks the clock more. So that's good.
So an embarrassing performance from McCarthy. He really needs to work on the fumbling. The fumbling is just ridiculous. Cade McNamara should be the quarterback of this team when he's healthy, because this guy sucks. So this offense with an embarrassing performance, you have to figure out the play calling. They should be able to run the ball on pretty much anybody, and they just should do that and stop messing around with all these garbage plays and trying to throw the ball all over the yard. Run the football, and you will win all of these games up until Ohio State.
Luke?
I already talked about Michigan, Mike. It's your turn, dummy.
Okay, that's all you said. You said two things. Okay,
There's not much to say.
fair enough. Yeah, good win. You can't complain too much about it. Obviously, they didn't cover, so Michigan's not a great team. But you get a win in the Big Ten. First game, first real opponent. Michigan got punched in the mouth a little bit in the first half. They played a good overall game. The offense showed a lot of flash.
No, they didn't.
Of what they could be.
No, they did not.
Yeah, McCarthy running around 80 yards to gain 10. That was very good.
And then running around in the backfield on two other plays and getting sacked and fumbling.
Yeah, listen, you take the good with the bad.
No, I don't. I just take. How about I take the good with the good, and Cade can just sit there and hand it off and throw a short
Cade's
pass.
not good.
Why can't we do that? That was
Cade
good
threw a
last year.
Cade threw a pick against the worst team in college football. I don't want
It
to hear
doesn't
anything
matter.
about it.
I just want my quarterback to sit there, hand the ball off, and throw easy underneath passes. I don't want anything else.
Where? Keep crying. Michigan's number 4 team in the country. They're a top 5 power rating team. I don't want to hear any complaining. It was obviously not ideal, but listen, Maryland, they're a mature team offensively. Was this Loxley's 10th year? So I mean, Maryland they're as good as they're probably going to be under him with this quarterback, who played well. And he's actually questionable this weekend. It'd be amazing if he didn't play for us, but yeah, I thought McCarthy played well. Besides the few mistakes that he made, a couple missed throws, but it was one of those games where it was frustrating, for if you're a Michigan fan, just because of how many opportunities they had. But listen, you can't complain about a win. And the score wasn't even that close. I mean, they got up 14 towards the end of the game. So, I mean, the game was pretty much over anyway. So, whatever. The Michigan will be fine because they don't play anybody the rest of the year besides Ohio State and Penn State. So they'll be fine. They got 2 games really left on their schedule. So, and Iowa can't get a first down on their defense. So, no. All right, Ohio State defeats Wisconsin. Reaction?
Yeah, it was a really good win. The offense looked really good. The defense looked good, improved. Still gave up. The penalties came down a lot, which was the big thing. And the game was over by the end of the first half. But the defense still gave up a couple too many chunk plays in the second half. But the way they're playing compared to last year, if that's what we have to take is giving up a couple big chunk plays to have the defense we're playing now, I'll take it. Stroud looked good. Stover looked good, which is a little bit of a surprise. Our wide receivers have been kind of hurt. Smith and Jigba hasn't played since the first game. Marvin Harrison's been in and out. Fleming's been in and out. But so to see the tight end step up, and he's a converted linebacker. So for him to step up and play a good game is huge for us. And the offensive line looked really good, which was a concern after last year. They don't look as soft as they did last year. I still like to see us run the ball a little bit more, but when we did look to run it, we looked fantastic. So all in all, it was a success because Wisconsin is one of these teams that has always kind of they've never beat us really, but they've always given us some troubles. So Paul Chryst has lost it. I'll say that.
Yeah,
Paul Chryst should go get Cade McNamara to transfer to Wisconsin. He's the perfect quarterback for him.
Mertz played well. He had a 15
Oh, yeah,
QBR.
he was great.
Did you see? Yeah, did you see his interception he threw? It was about 10 yards behind the wide receiver. Like
Yeah,
it was
I
one
did.
of the worst
I did
interceptions
see
I've ever
No,
seen.
no, not at all. The wide receiver ran the wrong route.
Even no, but
Um,
the thing is, he threw it where he broke. So even if he broke in, he would have missed behind him.
Yeah, it was a hitch.
I don't take anything out of this. Ohio State. I mean, Wisconsin's not good. Great game for Graham Mertz, as Mike said. So I don't really give any credit to Ohio State. And Paul Chris needs to be fired.
Oh, they just need to bring Barry Alvarez back. Every about 4 or 5 years, Barry Alvarez gets the itch and he fires his coach so he can coach
They
the
need-
bowl game.
They need Brett Bielema back. You kidding me?
No, they need Gary Anderson back.
Gary Anderson was right. He left Wisconsin because they didn't let him run his offense. And now look at Wisconsin. Their offense is a mess.
Yeah, look at Gary Anderson. He's been such a success wherever he's gone.
Yeah. He was so bad. He was so bad, and he knew it. That when he left Oregon State, he didn't even want the buyout. He said, "Take the money. I don't want it. I was so bad, I didn't even deserve it." He went like 3-40 as the head coach at Oregon State. But I don't think nobody in the Big Ten is going to beat, if Ohio State plays like this. But if you're a Wisconsin fan, you just got to be very disappointed because every year your defense is really good, and there was going to be a year. I don't know when it was going to be, but obviously it's this year. It seems like where your defense is going to be down a little bit. Wisconsin lost a good amount of players last year from their defense, so you knew you were going to have a down year on defense, and your offense had to carry you a little bit. And the offense doesn't look much better than it was last year. Might be a little better, but really not really. And this starts with the offensive line. Wisconsin's offensive line hasn't been good since 2019. And really that's where the program is. If Wisconsin doesn't have a good offensive line, and this is relatively, their offensive line's fine, but you can't run the offense they run without an amazing offensive line. If you put Minnesota's offensive line on Wisconsin's team right now, Wisconsin is a really good team. But because their offensive line is good, not great, they're getting exposed because they're very predictable on offense. And Ohio State's got the defensive linemen to stop the run this year, and their scheme is better suited to stop the run. And then obviously Wisconsin can't pass the ball. Their quarterback isn't good. So, and then the defense isn't as good as it was last year. Wisconsin, they're under a touchdown favorite at home against Minnesota, or excuse me, against Illinois. So, I mean, it's, their schedule is not that hard the rest of the way, but it's just kind of, not great performance from them at all. And
Mike, can you guess where Gary Anderson is right now?
no,
He is a analyst at Weber State.
that's funny. Weber State beat the shit out of Utah State a couple weeks ago too. That's funny.
Well, they're usually one of the best FCS programs every year.
Yeah,
It's
Maine
so funny that it's
beat
an
them a
analyst
couple
there.
years ago.
That's right.
Yeah. So, not great for Wisconsin. You got to give credit to Bielema. I know it's kind of off topic, but I mean, he switched his offense. He brought in that guy from UTSA, and now Illinois' offense looks really good. And Wisconsin is just stuck in the past, where they can't. They do the same things. They have not tried to innovate. Reminds me of
Well, the
Iowa.
problem is
only
Mertz
not
turns
as
it
bad.
over too much. If they had McNamara, they would be okay because he wouldn't turn the ball over. He wouldn't cost them possessions.
Sure, that's fair, but at the same time, it's not like their offense is helping Mertz at all. I mean, they're not
But that's
running the
not
ball as well.
their quarterback. No, but it's also because at least the thing with if you had a guy like McNamara is you at least have to respect the pass a little bit. With Mertz, you can sell out on the run the whole time, and he's not going to beat you.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on to the Big Ten scoreboard here. Let me get that out. Here it is. I guess I'll go over the games that nobody really cares about. Illinois over Chattanooga.
Win.
And then I guess, Penn State over Central, Cincinnati over Indiana.
How about Northwestern losing to Miami?
Well, Miami's a better team.
No,
Well, they should.
no. The last time Northwestern lost all 3 non-conference games, they won the West.
Yeah, and that year
Good
they
stat.
also lost to Duke at home. So
Yep, that's right.
and they lost to a worse MAC team than Miami. They lost to Akron that year. Anything to say
All right.
about any of these games?
Oh, sorry. I mean, good win for Iowa. I don't know. Purdue didn't look great. I thought Purdue was going to be a lot better, but they could be one of these teams that like turns it on.
Oh, Mike had
Actually,
Purdue at 12-0.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I
that
did
could turn
not.
it on in
You
the second
did
half
pretty
of the
close.
season.
Pretty-
That wouldn't
Pretty
surprise
close
me.
to it. You had them win in the West.
No, I didn't. Did I?
Yes, you did.
I had Wisconsin winning the West.
You had
What are talking
Purdue.
about? Huh?
You had Purdue winning it.
No, I didn't. I had
You
Wisconsin.
talked about how great their skill positions are and how great O'Connell is.
You're getting mixed up with someone else.
No, that's what you said.
I said Wisconsin was winning the West. I did
You
not
said
say
Purdue.
Purdue. Was winning the West. I did not.
You did.
Jesus Christ.
A little concerning for Penn State. I don't have a ton of faith in their offense. Indiana I actually thought played pretty well against Cincinnati, except for the second quarter where they were outscored 28-7. There was a tied game. It was 17-17 in the other 3 quarters. Obviously, you have to play 4 quarters, so it doesn't matter too much. But they got blown out in that second quarter, which killed them. I think Indiana's one of those teams that I don't think they're going to have a good record, but they could have a couple games this year where they scare some teams. And embarrassing for Northwestern. Good thing they're getting their new field, though.
Horrible.
Good thing Northwestern's getting their new field.
Yes. I would just like to talk about this Iowa game because we're playing them this week. Just what a performance for Iowa. They look like a strong contender for the West. They really
Petras played amazing.
Yep. Yeah. They just went in there and dominated a really good Rutgers team on the road.
3.4 yards a carry against Rutgers.
I'm very nervous for this week. It's going to be a very close game. I'm very concerned about Iowa's offense. They've turned it on here in the last couple of weeks, even though 14 of those points were scored by the defense against Rutgers. But yeah, Iowa's a really good team. They've turned it on. They're a top 25 team, and it's going to be a great game this week between 2 good teams.
Chris, Rutgers had 300 yards passing against Iowa. Michigan's
Yeah,
going to tear it out.
the second worst quarterback in Power 5 had 300 yards passing.
Yeah,
They only
and
gave up 10 points.
That means McCarthy's going to air it out. They're going to let
Yeah,
him
if they throw the ball more than 3 times in this game, everybody should be fired. They should just
They're going
run
to be
the
throwing
ball.
it 50 times.
No, they need to just run the ball right up the middle and let Iowa beat themselves with Petras. But it's going to be a great game because Iowa's offense is turning it on.
Nothing big. I'm going to disagree with Luke. I think Indiana's terrible, really bad. Indiana is 2 plays away from being 1-3 and well on their way to 2-10. They got extremely lucky against Illinois, extremely lucky against Western Kentucky. If Western Kentucky didn't hand them the game, they'd be 2-2. And if Illinois didn't hand them the game, they'd be 1-3. And by the way, Idaho was up 10-0 on them at half. So Indiana's horrible, like really bad. Like they're so bad that I'm not even concerned about them as an MSU fan. Other games, Northwestern, not ideal. They're by far the worst team in the Power 5.
No, they're not.
It's close. I don't even think it's close. Who's worse?
Colorado?
Oh, I forgot about Colorado. That would be a grudge.
No,
match
it wouldn't.
between
No,
those
it
two
would not.
teams.
And Northwestern beat Nebraska.
Okay, Nebraska's bad. Really bad. Nebraska is one of the worst teams in the Power 5 too.
Yeah. And I think Boston College is worse than them too. Northwestern.
Okay, let's calm down.
They are. Have you seen them play?
I don't. Do you understand how bad Northwestern's offense
You understand
is?
how bad BC is?
Would BC lose to freaking Miami and Southern
Maybe
Illinois?
they almost lost to Maine.
They-
They
They
were
did
down
not
like
almost
3
lose
nothing.
to
They were down
Maine.
3-0 to Maine.
Jesus. um. Yeah. Besides that, I don't take anything out of that Purdue game. I don't care. O'Connell didn't play, so I don't care about that at all. So, Purdue will be fine. They'll go 6-6 like they do every year.
No, they're gonna go 10-2 according to you.
No, I never said that.
You
I
did.
said Wisconsin was going to win the West. I
You
never
had
said
Purdue.
Purdue's gonna win. I said they have a chance. I never said that they would.
You picked them to win.
And listen, Northwestern is still 1-0 in the Big Ten, so
That's
they're
right.
leading the Big Ten West. All right. Moving on to some results from last weekend. We got to start at Jerry World. I love this name. A&M fans calling this the Oink Doink. You saw that field goal at the end of the game from Arkansas to try and win. Went off the top of the upright and like the very top. It was one of the weirdest field goals I've ever seen, but it ended up missing. And A&M with a huge comeback win against Arkansas. Reactions from this game.
Yeah, tough loss for Arkansas. I think both teams are kind of this. This is one of those games where they reverting to the mean. I think Arkansas is a top 25 team. I don't think they're a top 10 team, like they've made their way up to be. But and I think Texas A&M is probably a top 20 team, not the unranked team like they become, or the 20 to 25 team they become. So I think this is kind of a reverting to the mean. Tough loss for Arkansas. It was a game that Arkansas wanted to play, though. Low scoring game, kind of clock management game. They ran for 250 yards. So, and Max Johnson didn't play all that well. Probably because Jimbo has the most complicated offense of all time. But
Johnson also sucks.
I don't think Max Johnson's that bad.
I think it's pretty
for
bad.
a college QB.
I don't know. Everybody that puts on the A&M uniform is going to be bad at quarterback.
That's not true. Kellen Mond was
Everybody.
great.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
Calzada was actually good.
Unlucky
Calzada
on the
was probably
field
the best
goal.
quarterback we had.
Unlucky on the field goal, but that happens. That's football. Arkansas is one of the toughest schedules in the country. They now have to go play Alabama, and then they have to go to Mississippi State, and then go to BYU. So, I think they'll probably go 8-4. They'll be a top 25. They'll probably be between 18 and 25 at the end of the year. Successful year under Pittman. But yeah, tough loss for them.
Yeah, I mean,
I find this incredibly amusing. The best quarterback Jimbo's ever had is Zach Calzada.
no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Jameis Winston.
No.
Yes, it is. Just don't even think about it.
It's
It's Zach
Kellen Mond.
Calzada because this helps my argument. It's Zach Calzada, and now Calzada is at Auburn where he's the third string, and Auburn has the worst quarterback room I've ever seen them have ever, and he can't even find the field there. It's
What are you
funny.
talking about?
Well, Kellen Mond's
Texas
in the
A&M?
NFL. So
Yeah, Texas A&M.
Okay, I was gonna say
Kellen
'cause he had
Mond's in the
Jameis.
NFL, Mike.
Yeah, I meant at Texas A&M. No, EJ Manuel was the best quarterback he ever had at Florida State. But anyways,
Yeah, very. I don't really take much out of this game. This is just two, like, top 20-ish, 25-ish SEC teams. Like, we're gonna see a lot of.
I think they're both between 15 and 25.
They're pretty even teams. We're gonna see a lot of this throughout the season. You got teams like Kentucky, Ole Miss, maybe Mississippi State. They're close there.
Mississippi State. Well, no, they're not close because they're so far ahead of them.
Yeah, Arkansas.
Missouri.
Not Missouri, but a lot of these like top 25, fringe top 25 teams that these games are just impossible to pick. Usually just go with the home team. This game was a neutral site. It was an even game. Tough luck for Arkansas on the field goal, but I still think they're in a good position to win 9-ish games. I think they'll probably lose to Alabama, maybe one other game. I think they'll win 9
If
games.
there's one team that's going to beat Alabama outside of Georgia, I think it could be Arkansas.
I think Tennessee has a shot in a couple weeks.
Yeah. But I think Arkansas's play style matches up well with an upset like that.
Yeah, I felt like the better team did not win. In the box score and in the game, and overall. Arkansas just got up. They got up quickly. I thought it was going to be one of those games where Arkansas just was in control the whole game. They got up 14-0, and then 23 unanswered points from A&M, kind of out of nowhere. It seemed like A&M had some big plays. Man, that fumble return for a touchdown, 82-yard fumble return for a touchdown, that completely changed the game in A&M's favor. And you got to give A&M credit for coming back and not wilting, but they were not the better team. Arkansas was the better team, and this is a heartbreaking loss for Arkansas because they were the better team. They played better. They had the lead early. They let it get away, and just, I mean, when those type of turnovers happen, when you're in the other team's red zone and you throw a pick six or you have a fumble, it goes the other way, those are just killers. And it's hard to come back from something like that. And you saw, if you saw this after the game, a lot of Arkansas players were crying. It just, that's one of those games where I wonder if they're going to get past. I really do. I mean, they were the better team. They played better. They were in position to win. The kicker doinks it off the upright. And you have players on the field crying after the game. It just feels like one of those games where that could just kill their season. Not kill their season as in, oh, they're not going to make a bowl. But it's just a momentum killer because they should have won the game. They were a way better team.
You could, but you could also argue that it's one of those games that maybe they turn it around and now they have the big game against Alabama at home and they use this heartbreaking loss to respond better and maybe pull an upset.
Yeah, I actually, I would agree with that.
I think it's 50-50 which way it goes.
Yeah, it does remind me of Michigan's loss against Michigan State last year. It's kind of what it reminded me of. Just, I don't know if it was fluky, but
no, that was more.
Michigan was the way better team.
It was way more fluky.
I don't know. Giving up 300 yards rushing isn't that fluky.
Well, we had
that's just not being able to play defense. A&M giving up an 82-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. That's fluky.
What's fluky is putting your backup quarterback into the game to fumble.
Well, those are the fluky things that you can control. I'm talking about the things you can't really control. Those unlucky plays that don't go your way. And Michigan, to their credit, they took it on the chin, and they raised their level. They got better and better after that game. And it just, with all those the emotions that were on the field Saturday for Arkansas, usually I would say, oh, they're a wounded animal coming in this week. But I mean, after that game, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see. But man, that was a little disappointing. If you're an Arkansas fan, obviously. Tennessee beats Florida. Clemson beats Wake. Any reactions from these two games?
Yeah, good win for Tennessee. But this is one of the classic games like Chris was talking about, where any of these teams rank between, I don't know, 10 and 25 every year in the SEC when they play each other. You just can never pick them. They're impossible to pick. Good win for Tennessee. They survived. It got
what
a
great
little
backdoor recovery from Florida.
They did not survive. Go ahead. I'll say that.
They survived.
Did not survive.
They did survive.
They did survive.
They won.
Florida had a chance, man.
Florida had a chance at the end. They lit up 450 yards passing to Anthony Richardson, who I don't think is very good. Hendon Hooker, what a performance from him, though. That was a big-time performance. Chris likes him. 350 yards and then 110 yards on the ground, 3 total TDs, 22 for 28. He looked good. Is this Trevor Etienne? Is he, what's his face? Is the other Etienne's
Yes.
brother?
Yes.
He sucks. But I don't think Florida's very good at all overall, but I think it's a good win for Tennessee.
He sucks. Why are you talking about a running back?
What do you mean?
That
I'm
just
just
come
saying
to
he's
your
bad.
mind?
Oh, I just saw
Okay.
him in the box score.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think much out of the Clemson game. I don't think Clemson's that good. Wake can score on anybody, obviously, though. Clemson just they had to survive and they did. So I'll give them credit there. This Tennessee game, obviously, I want to talk about. Tennessee, I've picked up as one of my teams for this year. I think they are a solid top 10 team in the country. The notion that they survived this game is a little ridiculous, considering
so
they're
you're
up.
Florida had
saying
a Florida had a chance to win the game in the last play. If that's not surviving, I don't know what
They
is.
were up by 3 scores with 3 minutes left.
It doesn't
saying
matter.
they
Yes,
lost?
they survived. That's literally the
They
definition
did not
of surviving.
survive.
Yeah,
Florida
that is
got
the
lucky
definition
at
of
the end.
surviving.
Florida got lucky the last 3 minutes of the game. That was it.
So did they
Um,
lose? If
What?
they didn't lose, they survived.
Anyways,
Ohio State survived against Wisconsin.
I was very impressed with Billy Napier in this game for a couple of reasons. Number one, he was very aggressive on fourth down. When you play a team like Tennessee, who's going to score pretty much every drive, you have to go for it on pretty much every fourth down, and they converted a lot of them. So I was impressed with that, and I was also impressed, similar to what Pittsburgh did against Tennessee in Week 1, with the game plan in the first, really to start the game for Florida's defense. It took Tennessee's offense a while to get going, similar to the Pittsburgh game. But then we saw after they got going, they scored on pretty much every drive. This is probably, I think this is the best offense in the country. I think they're better than Ohio State on offense. Their defense,
You're on crack.
their defense is dreadful. Tennessee's. But anyways, Hendon Hooker, I don't know why people aren't talking about him more for Heisman. I saw he's in the top 5 for the odds, but he frankly should be 1 or 2 right now. I have never seen a quarterback throw it as many times as they do. And
Because he's not even the best player. He's not even the best quarterback on his team.
there is no, like, we talk about how he doesn't throw
Do
picks.
you understand there's a Cam Newton, Andrew Luck combination on the bench? Do you understand that?
There aren't even any interceptable balls that Hooker throws. There's nothing there for the defense. He is a
Yeah,
tremendous
Milton's
player.
the same way because he overthrows his receiver by 40 yards. There's no chance that ball's going to be intercepted.
Hooker is just a tremendous quarterback. Obviously, he had a great game on the ground too. So I'd like to see a little more traction for him for Heisman.
Oh.
But yeah, Tennessee should be going into Tuscaloosa, or they're going to be at home for that game actually on the 15th, undefeated. I expect they'll beat LSU next week, and that should be a top 7-ish matchup. And I think it'll be a really good game. I think Tennessee has a shot because they can score with anybody.
Well, Tennessee fans are starting to get their swagger back a little bit. You see,
Did you see they're going to checkerboard
they're gonna checker
Vanderbilt
Vanderbilt?
State? Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait. Well, did you know that? First of all, I can't wait for some sort of Tennessee letdown at some point this year. They're all getting confidence and classic Tennessee letdown.
Because they have the.
Well, did you know
quarterback.
over the last 10 years, they're 5-5 against Vanderbilt.
Well, they've been pretty bad in some of those years. This is a really good team.
Chris, Tennessee should be 10-0 against Vanderbilt.
I agree,
every
but
10
they
years.
have, but it's not like this Tennessee team playing Vanderbilt. They've been bad for some
So
of those.
is Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt's a tough place to play.
Yeah, that's because it's a home game for Tennessee every year. The pressure, Tennessee always folds under the pressure of playing in front of their home fans.
I got to
But
give ukulele
I'm a
credit.
believer. I'm a believer.
I got to give ukulele credit. That was a really good game from him, and they needed it bad.
Wake
Clemson's
Forest is
defense
not a
was
Power 5
terrible.
defense.
I don't
Yeah,
care.
they're not.
Yes, did you see the stat? They have over 50 fifth, sixth, and seventh year seniors on their team.
They have a bunch of scrubs on defense.
Doesn't matter. That's a Power 5 defense right there. So listen, like Chris said, I mean, they had to squeak that game by. They did it. I thought Wake was the better team, but Clemson was able to get it done. So Dabo buys himself another week, and this is
There's not
probably
another.
the
I
biggest
don't know.
game.
There's another. There's probably not another game on their schedule that they have a chance to even lose.
This week.
Who do they play?
NC State.
Yeah, NC State can't score,
No,
so I'm
NC
not
State
worried
sucks.
about that game.
That's ridiculous. Wait till you see
We're
this team play
gonna
this week.
we're gonna get to that game later, but in terms of the Tennessee game, this game concerns me for Tennessee
Oh, give me up.
because if the University of South Florida could shut down Anthony Richardson, and the University of Kentucky could shut down Anthony Richardson, and Tennessee couldn't on their home field, that worries me.
Mike. First
Worries
of
me
all,
in terms of national contention.
okay, I'm not saying I don't think anybody said that they're a national championship contender.
You said they're a top 10 team. That's national contention. I would
Yeah,
consider that.
I think they can make the playoff. All they have to do is beat Alabama or Georgia once. They can beat one of them, and they'll be in. But Mike, what is college football about now? It's not about defense. It's about offense.
No, they have to beat Georgia,
They can
Chris.
score.
Because if they don't beat Georgia, they won't be in the SEC championship game.
That's fine. They can get in at 11-1 in the SEC.
Not over both Georgia and Alabama.
Well, if they beat Alabama, they'll have the head-to-head.
I guess that's true. But then they got to hope Alabama loses in the championship game.
Yeah.
I don't think their defense is that good. I think their offense is a little overrated because I don't like Pitt at all. They didn't play well against Pittsburgh. And in the first half against Florida, they didn't play very well, but you got to give them credit for coming back. They played a great second half, obviously. But
the last three quarters, I don't think they did. They literally scored on every single drive the last 3 quarters, I think.
Don't care. Really don't care. And listen, I'm not going to lie. I was really rooting for Florida at the end. I would have been so happy if Florida was able to score and win the game. That would have been so funny. But it didn't happen. Tennessee survived. They held on by the lick of their teeth. And they won. So congratulations to them. They're only 3-point favorites at LSU. I would favor LSU in that game. I don't like what I saw. I think LSU's defense is good. So
that just doesn't matter. Like they're just going to score on everybody.
I think there's a good chance. My prediction for them is I think they'll probably go 9-3. That would probably be my prediction. Don't think they're beating Alabama. It'll be close, but I don't think they'll beat Alabama. I don't think they're even in the same league as Georgia. But and I think they'll probably lose one more game, whether it's Kentucky, LSU, Vanderbilt, UT Martin. They'll lose one more game. It's a big rivalry game, UT Martin. So Florida, I said Florida is going to be better than Tennessee, or to start the season. So I was wrong about that. But I think this is this is a game that you can take a lot of goods from. Obviously, you want to win every game, but where Florida is as a program, they really weren't in great position to win this game. But the recruiting class is good. That's all that matters. And as long as Florida can make a bowl this year, that would be good. That would be a good first year for Billy Napier. Let's talk about a couple, if you want to call it Big 12. I guess they're still in the Big 12 upsets. I guess if you want to talk about the Middle Tennessee game, throw the Middle Tennessee Miami game in here too. But Oklahoma loses to Kansas State and Texas loses to Texas Tech. So reactions from those games.
Not a good loss for Miami, but it is the first year of Mario Cristobal. Have to give him some time. I think he will maybe not get Miami back to where they should be, but he'll get Miami back to a consistent top 15 program every year. And with the way the ACC is, that's competing for ACC championships. So I'm not too concerned I'm concerned about Miami for this year, but not concerned for Miami overall. This Oklahoma loss was weird because I didn't even think they played that bad. But I mean, Kansas State seems to have Oklahoma's number every year. It doesn't matter who the coach is, doesn't matter who the quarterback is, doesn't matter anything. Seems like they always have their number. Adrian Martinez rushed for 4 touchdowns, 150 yards. So
he wasn't the problem at Nebraska.
Yes, he was.
I guess
he turned the ball over.
I guess not. So yeah, I still believe in Oklahoma. I think this was more of they just have a monkey on their back against Oklahoma, against Kansas State.
Just think there's a lot of teams in the Big 12 that are really good. There's not one team that's great. The talent level between a lot of these teams is similar. I think
it's very even.
Yeah, Kansas State and Oklahoma are similar teams in terms of power ratings.
And then this is a classic Texas loss. I mean, Texas will Texas every year. Won't change. Doesn't matter who the coach is. Doesn't matter anything about Texas except for the fact that their uniforms say Texas and they have the Longhorn on their helmet, because they will lose games like this every single year. What it does show you is how good of a coach Tom Herman was, that he kept them getting to 9 and 10 wins every year. That's what it shows you.
We're going to talk about Tom Herman later, and
I
I'll
would
save
just
that. That's a secret, but I'll tell you what that is about later. But he was a terrible coach. I don't want to hear anything about Tom Herman.
I agree with pretty much everything Luke said about these games. I would just like to point out that Mike just said that Oklahoma and Kansas State are similar teams. Talent.
Did you watch the game? Did you watch the game?
Oklahoma is 9th in the talent composite, and Kansas State is
Listen,
70.
What
70.
don't you understand? Talent
No.
composite is only
You-
one part of it.
You swear by the talent composite.
No,
No, I don't wanna hear it.
No, it's the blue chip ratio.
Oh,
No, but there are two ways to. How many times do I have to say this? There are
and
two
Texas
ways to be
is
good.
7th, and Texas
There are
Tech is
two ways to be
45th.
good in college football. Two ways. One is talent. Two is development. If you can develop guys, you can be a really good team, but you can't win national championships. You need talent to win national championships, but you could be really, really good with development. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, yes, Oklahoma has talent, but overall, Kansas State is really good and similar team because they develop well.
Kansas State lost to Tulane the week before.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
it's just a case of them having their number.
You're just making my point.
They lost to Tulane.
Yeah, Tulane's a good team.
Yeah, they're awesome. I would love to talk about Miami. I mean, I really would after what I had to hear last week about how good Miami was and how good Tyler Van Dyke is. I mean, they were blown out in this game, blown out at home by Middle Tennessee. Tyler Van Dyke with one of the worst performances of the season, benched in the game. So, I mean, Miami is a disgrace. They have no chance to do anything in the ACC this year. And
they're third favorite. They're still third favorite to win.
I think anybody that said anything good about them last week on this podcast should have to apologize.
No, because it's because their offensive coordinator is a blind mouse.
Oh, please.
He's a blind mouse. He's one of the worst offensive coordinators in the country. He's worse than Dave Warner.
So what happened last year?
What do you mean what happened last year?
How was Michigan's offense?
Miami was one of the best offenses in college football last year. That's what happened.
No, how was Michigan's offense so good last year?
Because it was Jim Harbaugh's offense. We all
because
know
it was Cade McNamara?
It was Jim Harbaugh's offense. They run the same offense now than they did.
No, they don't. Did you see the play calling this week? Yeah, the play calling
the same.
The play calling is different. The play calling is different. Did you see the play
They
calling?
run the same.
Did you see the play calling this week? They were running flea flickers and double passes against Maryland.
They ran flea flickers last year.
Not against Maryland. They would have just run it right up the middle against them.
They ran a flea flicker against Ohio State. They went for a touchdown.
Yeah, because they have to run them against good teams, not against Maryland. They would have just run it right up the middle and beat them by 50.
They run the exact same offense. They do that same running play where they pull both the guard and the tackle. Michigan runs the same offense that they ran last year. They run that same play. Every running play is the same. They're one of the only teams in college football that runs gap scheme runs. And Miami's trying to run gap scheme runs, and they can't because Gaddis is one of the worst offensive coordinators in the history of college football. And that's
he won the Broyles last year. So.
It's not just me saying it. Coaches have said it.
Who won the Broyles last year?
Coaches have come out and said that this guy is awful.
Who won the Broyles?
I don't care. It was Harbaugh's offense. Did Michigan's offense last year look anything like Josh Gaddis's offense in 2020? Anything? Did it look even remotely similar?
Yeah, he had a good year last year.
No, it didn't. It looked nothing like it. Nothing. Give me a break. Tyler Van Dyke's a great quarterback. He's getting ruined by a terrible offensive coordinator. And as for the Oklahoma game, the scheduling dynamics set up perfectly for Kansas State. I don't think Kansas State wins this game if they don't lose to Tulane. I think what happened was Oklahoma kills Nebraska on the road. They're feeling great about themselves. They look over their scouting report. They see that Kansas State just lost to freaking Tulane. And they're like, oh, this is going to be an easy win. Set it up perfectly for Kansas State. And they went in there and they were the better team and they won. That was an impressive win. Martinez played well. And, he doesn't have to do as much at Kansas State. And Nebraska, he had to carry that team because they had
Yeah, he was
nobody.
bad. He was
Their
really bad.
offensive line, Nebraska's offensive line was a disgrace last year. They could not pass block to save their lives. He's got a good offensive line at Kansas State. He's got a running game. Deuce Vaughn, really good running back. I'm sure we all know. He's terrific. So he doesn't have to do as much. And that's really going to help him in the long run. And then Texas, yeah, not surprised. They need to get Quinn Ewers back yesterday because, they can't, their defense just can't be on the field for 90 plays and expect to win. You're not going to win like that. All right. Pick a game.
What'd you say?
Pick a game. Well, what's your game from last week?
Oh, well, this was a big game overall for the landscape of college football because it's all about the Heisman. Where is it here? Mississippi State beating Bowling Green 45-14. Will Rogers thrown for 409 yards and 6 touchdowns. So he's back at front of the Heisman. ESPN still doesn't have a picture on their website. This guy is a stud. Chris was dumping on him last week. He's tied for
Explain the
first
LSU
touchdown.
game.
What?
Explain the
LSU game?
LSU game.
What LSU game?
All right, fine.
He's tied for the lead in touchdowns in the country. He's third in passing yards. He's going to throw for 5,000 yards. He's going to throw for probably 50 touchdowns. He'll be in New York City for the Heisman.
All right. Yeah, I'd just like to talk about this NC State UConn game. I was really into this one here. Obviously, NC State is one of my teams this year. They look good. But I just like to point out that the University of Connecticut has started a quarterback for all of their games. And they've played 5.
That's good that they've started a quarterback for all of their games.
It's the same guy. He's played 5 games. He's been the starter for all 5 games. And in 5 games, he's thrown for a total of 429 yards with a 17 QBR. And he threw for 39 against NC State, a whopping 39, which is way up from his total the week prior against Michigan, where he was 4 for 16, was for 17 yards.
They haven't got to any of their non-conference games yet. They're bye games because they're paying BC to go to UConn.
Yeah, they are. That was a good game. Although UConn covered this game.
You got to let Jim Moore get his offense in first.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to do great things there. No doubt about it.
Will they? Well, remember they were weren't they the first team from the Big East to make the New Year's Six Bowl or something like that?
The Big East got a New Year's Six bid every year. So
I know, and they were the first ones, I thought.
Was it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't really a college football guy back then when the Big East existed. So, I just want to talk about this Louisiana Monroe beating Louisiana. This is a big rivalry game. And Louisiana Monroe has not beaten Louisiana in Monroe since 2004. And my guy, Terry Bowden, the son of the great Bobby Bowden, who was a great coach at Akron for many years, coach at Auburn as well, takes over the ULM job, one of the toughest.
Do you know who
jobs
his
in the
offensive
country.
coordinator is, Mike?
Yeah, what is it, Rich Rod?
No, it's not Rich Rod. It is Rich Rod, actually. Yeah, it is Rich Rod. Rich Rod's his offensive coordinator.
His son was the quarterback. I don't think he's the starting quarterback, but the ULM is one of the toughest jobs in college football. And you beat Louisiana. Louisiana's always good. Obviously, Napier's not there anymore, but impressive, really impressive stuff from UL Monroe. Terry Bowden, Rich Rod, just some good stuff there. And we like talk about rivalry games. That's a big rivalry game. UL Monroe always underdog in that game. All right. Who is your double-digit underdog of the week?
Oh,
By the
well,
way,
none of us won, right?
None of us got it last week.
Oh yeah, in 2010 UConn or 2007 UConn won the Big East at 9-4. So we're 0-9 now or 0-12. Well, I have a list here. Let's see. That I've had a strategy in my head. There's 2 games I'm picking between. I think Purdue plus 12 at Minnesota could be a sneaky one. I think Stanford plus 17 at Oregon could be a sneaky one because you never know with Bo Nix, even though he did look okay last in the fourth quarter. But I'm gonna go with BC plus 14.5 at home against Louisville.
Yeah, I tried that last week. That didn't work.
No.
I'm gonna take Rice plus 10 again.
Oh, I have them on my list.
Who's Rice playing?
UAB.
UAB.
Ooh, Rice actually played Houston tough last week.
The other 2 games I was thinking Navy against Air Force because it's a rivalry game, but I think Air Force is gonna
Navy is so
destroy
bad.
them. They're really bad. Then Ohio plus 11.5 at Kent State because those MAC
I looked
games,
at that
especially
one.
between the Ohio teams. Yeah,
Ohio's
those
really
Ohio
bad.
teams.
Ohio's
Yeah,
bad.
but
Really
those
bad.
MAC games are a crapshoot.
I agree with you, but Ohio's bad.
So is Kent State.
Ever since Solich left, it's been a complete mess. There. I've been looking for a plus 10 spread and I found one. Well, I got West
There weren't a
Virginia.
ton this week.
I got West Virginia plus 10 at Texas. I don't trust Texas at all. I've actually been higher in West Virginia than most people. I don't think Quinn Ewers is going to play. I think that helps me a little bit with this game. I think West Virginia, and also Texas was on the field for 93 plays on defense last week. I think that's going to catch up with them. I think West Virginia is going to win that game on the road at Texas. All right, let's go to the picks. We got 26 picks this week, so let's get into them. Tonight, actually kicking off in about an hour, we got Tulane at Houston.
What's the line?
Houston
was like
4.
I'll take Houston.
I'll stick Houston.
Yeah, Houston's awful. Enough with the people that like Houston. They suck. They should have lost to UTSA. They lost to Texas Tech. They played bad against Rice. Tulane's a good team. I'm taking Tulane. UTSA at Middle Tennessee.
UTSA.
UTSA.
Yeah, I just put this game on here because Middle Tennessee beat Miami, but I'm also taking UTSA. Washington at UCLA also tonight.
Washington.
I like UCLA with an upset.
I like Washington a little more than
Shocker.
UCLA.
Can't believe it.
It's going to be a home game for Washington, so even though it's
Yeah,
on
well,
the road,
they still have to travel, according to Luke.
They do.
for their point, it's going to be 70 and sunny. It's going to be really
Yeah.
tough conditions.
It's tough, yeah.
No, it's going to be 30 degrees.
No, actually, this game. Actually, you can pick it. New Mexico at UNLV.
Oh, this was another game I
Are
had
we
on
just
my
picking
list.
every game this week?
No, there's a good reason why I put this game on here. Do you
I'm-
want to know
I'm-
now or do you want to know after?
I want to know now.
Because guess who's commentating this game, Chris?
Petros.
No, it's Carter Blackburn and Tom Herman.
Oh my God.
Tom Herman.
I'll take UNLV.
UNLV.
Yeah, I'm also taking my guy Ricky White and UNLV. But Tom Herman, I can't wait to watch that game. I'll be up at 11:30 to watch that. All right, tomorrow, big noon. By the way, the noon window tomorrow is insane.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, Michigan at Iowa.
Michigan.
Michigan by a field goal.
Ooh, there've been a lot of people saying Iowa's got a chance.
They
Yeah,
do.
that's the reason I'm picking Michigan is because people are high on Iowa. The thing is, if it's a close game, I have no faith in JJ McCarthy to lead a drive.
Yep.
Well, did you see the last 6 games at home against top 5 teams? Iowa's won every game, and they've covered every time. I guess they're only favored once.
They're all
but,
also at night.
a lot of them are. That Ohio State game was a 3:30 game, and they beat them like a drum. But that Iowa team is also good offensively. And a lot of weird things happen at Kinnick, but once again, it's not a night game. And Michigan and Ohio State get extremely lucky in this sense that because Fox has the big noon window, they're never gonna have to play a big night game. It seems like maybe with the new TV deal next year, maybe they'll have to more, but it just seems like Fox is getting every big game, and they're taking Michigan, and Ohio State, which is fine. I don't care that much, but they'll still be rocking. It'll still be a tough environment, but Michigan will run the ball a lot. They'll take their chances through the air. I think, Iowa can be a little soft in zone. You can maybe get them a little bit there, but obviously they play a lot of zone. They get a lot of picks because they play a lot of zone. So you got to be careful also in terms of that. But I think Michigan will wear them down. Michigan's going to win. I think it's going to be like a 24-6 type win, sort of like that, where it's going to be Jim Harbaugh's wet dream. Basically, they're going to run the ball a lot, and they're going to wear Iowa down. Texas Tech at Kansas State.
Kansas State.
Kansas State.
Yeah, I think Kansas State's the better team. I'll take Kansas State. Purdue at Minnesota.
Minnesota. Close.
Yeah, Minnesota close.
Or at
I
least for
agree.
3/4.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota also. Kentucky at Ole Miss.
Kentucky.
No, the Sharks are on Ole Miss, so I'll take Ole Miss.
Yeah, I still don't like Kentucky. I don't care who they've beaten. Not a great performance last week. I don't take a whole lot out of it. Rocky's a great quarterback, but I think Ole Miss is going to show that they're a good team. I think they'll beat Kentucky. Oklahoma at TCU.
Oklahoma. Isn't Duggar, or what's his name? Is it Duggar or Duggan? Max
Duggan.
Duggan's the QB now again.
Kyle Duggar. Man, I've been going back and forth on this game. It's a under 6-point spread. TCU's a decent team. But yeah, I just think Oklahoma's not going to lose 2 in a row. And it is sort of a look ahead spot. I think Red River's next week. But I think they'll be focused. I think they'll win. Close. Illinois at Wisconsin. This is an under 1 touchdown spread at home for Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Chris?
All right, Mike, you
All
make
right.
the pick.
He's not there. Okay. Hold on. Jesus Christ. Okay, he's not here anymore. All right, I'm gonna take. This is a tough game. I think I'm gonna take Wisconsin. I guess I'll stay on Wisconsin. All right, Navy at Air Force.
Air Force. It's a rivalry game. They both have the triple option, but Air Force has looked really good and Navy's looked really bad.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna take Air Force. Navy's awful. Oregon State at Utah.
Utah. See, this is a game where I think Utah matches up well against Oregon State. Last week, I thought USC matched up bad against Oregon State, and it showed that actually. I mean, I know USC won, but I think Utah matches up pretty well against Oregon State, so I think they'll win pretty handily.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great dynamic for Oregon State.
Yeah.
A game that they could have won last week. They kind of let it get away a little bit. And Utah's on the road. That's a tough environment. I know it's a noon local time kick, but still, I think Utah's gonna handle them.
I
Wake
think the
Forest,
score will be closer than what the game is.
Wake Forest at Florida State.
Wake Forest.
Yeah, I
This
just
is a
think,
big game for Florida State, though, and Mike Norvell as a program as a whole, not
Yeah.
just this year.
yeah, the way Wake Forest lost that game, I feel like there's going to be a sort of an emotional downturn because of that, and I think Florida State's going to take advantage. I think Florida State's going to be 5-0. They're going to win. All right, Rutgers at Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State. Don't know why I put this game on here, but we'll do it anyway. Northwestern at Penn State.
Penn State.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those games where Northwestern is gonna keep it close in the first half, and Penn State's gonna pull away in the second half. Penn State. Alabama at Arkansas.
Alabama. They haven't looked great, but Arkansas, and I think this is definitely the upset alert of the week, probably. But I'm going to take Alabama.
You know, Arkansas was going to be my double-digit dog of the week, and then I was turned away from just how emotional that loss was last week. And I also don't like.
I'm telling you though, if there's one coach that can rebound off that loss and make it a positive for the next week, I think it's Sam Pittman. I think he's got everyone bought it.
I agree with you, but I also think Arkansas's got weaknesses in the wrong places. Their secondary is a joke. I think Alabama's going to throw it all day long, which could be a problem. I think there's a chance that they could win, but I think Alabama's going to win. All right, Michigan State at Maryland.
I'm going to take Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple factors. First is Talia going to play? It's my guess is he will. He's been questionable. I would be shocked if he didn't play. That's just my opinion. And it's also looks like it's going to rain. A lot of places are going to be dealing with rain this week, obviously.
But it's turf, so it doesn't matter as much.
Well, I mean, the ball is still going to be slippery, but
yeah, but that's not going to hurt Michigan State.
I think Maryland's going to be able to move the ball. Basically, I think we all know that they're going to be able to move the ball, and I think the key is Michigan State going to be able to keep up. I don't see how you can take MSU in this game. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan State won, but there's a reason why the spread is near 10 right now. Maryland has just shown that they're a more competent team right now.
I don't think Maryland's as good at what people are giving them credit for, and I don't think Michigan State's as bad as what people are saying.
Yeah, that was what I was going to get to. I think
I think Maryland should still be favored, but I think it should be closer to 4.5.
I think MSU's. I don't think they're good, like not even close to good. But I mean, a lot of teams are going to lose to Minnesota 34-7, and a lot of teams are going to lose to Washington and get thrown all over. So I don't think it's MSU's as bad as what they've looked, and Maryland's probably not that great. They're definitely not Minnesota. I think it'll be somewhat close, but Maryland's just a little better right now. We'll see tomorrow, but Oklahoma State at Baylor. This is my game of the week. This is a big game.
Yeah. Is it the early one? No, it's 3:30.
3:30.
Damn. I'm going to take Oklahoma State.
Man, this is really, really good game because it's a tight point spread. Big 12 championship rematch. I'm going to take Baylor. I trust Baylor a little more. I think Oklahoma State's defense hasn't been as good ever since Knowles left. And And I think that's going to be the difference in the game. I think Baylor's going to win at home. Iowa State at Kansas.
I'm going to take Iowa State.
Iowa State favored by 3 on the road. I'm going to stick with the Kansas bandwagon. I like Matt Campbell, but he doesn't win close games. Another close game last week. He didn't win it. I'm going to take Kansas. Texas A&M at Mississippi State.
Mississippi State.
Yep, I agree. Mississippi State's a better team. They're at home. I think they'll win. Cal at Washington State.
Ooh, Washington State, tough loss last week. What was it, 28 points, something like that?
Yeah, that was
The
bad.
fourth quarter to Oregon to lose. I'm going to take Washington State. I think they've looked surprisingly good. Maybe what's his face not getting vaccinated was a good thing for him.
Yeah, they did a great job bringing in.
29 points in the fourth quarter to lose.
Yeah, they did a good job bringing in the quarterback. I know Chris makes fun of me, but I mean, Cam Ward was one of the biggest portal guys last year. Portal quarterbacks, they were able to get him. I think they upgraded at quarterback a little bit than compared to Delora, who I think's good, but something about Cal. I'm feeling Cal in this game. They played Notre Dame pretty tough. I think Notre Dame has sort of turned a corner. They've played well. They played really well at North Carolina. I know North Carolina is not great, but they beat Arizona last week. Cal did, so I think they're going to pull off the upset. LSU at Auburn.
I'm going to go with LSU. Man, this Harsin will probably be fired.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this, but apparently there was this rumor that if Brian Harsin loses another game, he's gone.
I think I 100% think I 100% agree. I think I don't even think I know it's a rumor, but I almost think it's like an open secret. They're waiting to fire him. But you can't fire him after a win. So,
but here's the funny part about it. They were literally a foot away from losing, and because the Missouri player fumbled the ball out of the end zone, he gets another win. I just find it hilarious.
Yeah,
I
and then this week, I hope Auburn goes on a roll. I mean, if the game's it's supposed to rain, so
could you imagine if Auburn wins out, or even if they win 6 in a row?
Auburn goes and beats Georgia in 2 weeks.
2 more players.
Yeah. They beat LSU this week. They beat Georgia next week. And the best part would be if it was all fluke stuff, like last week on that fumble, this week in the rain, and then
exactly.
and they just can't fire him.
Kind of like a couple years
ago.
ago.
I like Harsin. I think Harsin's a decent coach, and I think he got screwed from the beginning.
Yeah, if you're a good coach, I don't see how you could take the Auburn job. Not only is
especially how they did Harsin, they didn't even give him a year before they wanted him gone.
Yeah, not only is Auburn one of the toughest jobs in terms of expectations and the schedule that you play, but you have boosters to deal with too, and that's not the case at a lot of schools. It's just a ridiculously hard job. I don't see how anybody would want to take that job after what Harsin was put through. It's just really hard. But yeah, I mean, Auburn is a horrible football team this year. There's no doubt about it. If they win in a bunch of fluky ways, I would be amused. But LSU is almost a 10-point favorite on the road for a reason.
Mike, the one team in the SEC that does fluky wins year in year out is Auburn. So
yeah, that is true. That was a fluky win, so maybe there is some magic this year. All right, NC State at Clemson.
I didn't like Clemson at all last week, but I don't like NC State that much either. I think both of these teams overrated. What's the line on this game?
It was like 5 or 6. It's pretty low.
Clemson, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Clemson's at home, so I'll go with them.
Yeah, I just think Clemson's better. I think Wake is more suited to beat Clemson because they can throw the ball.
I agree. Wake can outscore you.
I know Chris is a big Devin Leary guy, but I'm not. I don't think he's very good. I don't think NC State can move the ball, and I think Clemson's offense is good enough. They'll put up enough points. It's going to be low scoring, but I think Clemson will win. Virginia at Duke.
What's the line in this game?
It was like Duke minus 2.5.
Jesus, I don't think Virginia's a good football team, which is I guess the Broncos not there anymore. So I guess I'll take Duke. Why not?
Yeah, I'm going to take Virginia. I'm not buying what Duke's selling.
I'm not either, but I have no reason to want. I have no reason to take either team, so I'll go with Duke because they're at home.
You know, they had that big win against Northwestern, but it turns out Northwestern isn't good. And, you know, they played Kansas decently tough, but I think Virginia is just a little better. I'm going to take Virginia. Indiana at Nebraska.
No,
What
what's
a
the
game
line?
that's-
This game.
It's like Nebraska minus 5.
I just like they look so bad against Oklahoma. But I'll take Nebraska. I'll go down with the ship.
This is such a shit show of a game. I cannot believe they're even playing this game. Indiana and Nebraska are like
Mike, if this was later in the year, we could name it the toilet bowl. This year's toilet bowl.
Yeah. I think both these teams are similar in terms of how good they are. I think Indiana's just gotten lucky and Nebraska's gotten unlucky in their games.
I think Nebraska has more overall talent, but Indiana.
I agree. I think there is something to being able to win close games, and Indiana has shown that. I think they win it. I think Indiana will win. And I'm not sure they win another game the rest of the year, but I think they'll win this game. I'm taking Indiana. Last game. West Virginia at Texas.
I'm gonna go with Texas at home.
Yeah, I already explained my reasoning, but I'm taking West Virginia. It's hard to.
My problem with I don't like Neil Brown or whatever the hell his name is.
I don't either, but you know,
I'm not a big fan of Sark either. So
there are a couple dynamics that are just that point towards West Virginia. The first thing is Texas was on the field for 90 something plays last week. It's hard. It's hard to come back after that and be fresh and be ready to play. And then West Virginia played a Thursday night game last week, so they're well rested. And I think West Virginia has the talent to move the ball.
well,
So
isn't JP Daniels their quarterback now?
Yeah. I think Texas is going to have to score, and I think there could be some mistakes. So I'm going to take West Virginia, actually. All right, that is it for this episode of Big Four Podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Tom Herman, #1 coach.
That's right.